Hey guys, welcome back. Alex here. We have a history lesson about the amazing Philippines. Before Spain came, there were 7 kingdoms in the Philippines, and we are going to check it out, how evolved they were, and how amazing the history from the Philippines is. If you missed the other videos, I'm going to link them at the end of the video, so make sure to check those out. We have a lot about the history of the Philippines, and not only. If it's your first time, consider subscribing. If you like what you're seeing, let's go and see this.
We're diving deep into one of history's most underrated civilizations, ancient Philippines. Now, I know what you're thinking. Philippines? Isn't that just the country Spain colonized?
No, it's not.
Well, yes,
Well,
but here's what they never taught you in school. Hey, history lovers, quick favor before we start.
the
If you
original link
enjoyed
is down below in
today's
description.
video, please help me reach 500 likes. And don't forget to subscribe for more amazing historical stories. Before 1521, before any European ever stepped foot on these islands, the Philippines was home to sophisticated kingdoms, master navigators who crossed entire oceans, warriors so fierce that even Spanish conquistadors feared them, and traders who dealt with China, India, and the Arab world as equals. This wasn't some primitive backwater waiting to be civilized. This was a thriving, complex civilization with its own writing systems, legal codes, and incredible achievements.
Exactly.
And yet, most of the world, including many Filipinos themselves, know almost nothing about it.
I'm going to stop for 1 second just to say something quick. I'm discovering the Philippines together with you guys over here. In the comments, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I didn't know about this about my country." Well, that's the beauty of all this, and maybe a lot of history from the Philippines. We know that Spanish, when they came, they burned a lot of things from the history of the Philippines. But they are some things hide out there, you know, some documents, some things, and this is what we're trying to reveal over here because, you know, the history of the Philippines. I mean, we had the videos of Ophir, the Garden of Eden. I mean, guys, Philippines, it's more than you think it is. Honestly, I mean, I'm discovering that. So
Why? Because 333 years of Spanish colonization systematically erased this history.
what I was
But
saying.
we're about to bring it back. So let me set the stage for you. The Philippines is an archipelago of over 7,000 islands in Southeast Asia. It sits at the crossroads of major maritime trade routes between China to the north, the Spice Islands to the south, and mainland Southeast Asia to the west. Whoever controlled these islands controlled the flow of goods, ideas, and wealth across Asia. And the ancient Filipinos, they didn't just live on these islands, they dominated the seas around them. By the 10th century, that's the year 900 CE, the Philippines had established kingdoms that traded directly with Imperial China, the Srivijaya Empire, and various Indian kingdoms. Archaeological evidence shows Chinese porcelain, Indian goldwork, and Arab glassware scattered across the islands. These weren't gifts or tributes from superior civilizations. These were trade goods, bought and sold by Filipino merchants operating in the international market as equals. In 1989, something incredible was discovered, a copper plate that completely changed our understanding
The one with
of
the
ancient
depth,
Philippines.
I guess.
The Laguna copper plate inscription, dated to 900 CE, is written in Old Malay and Sanskrit. It records a debt forgiveness and mentions multiple rulers, a sophisticated calendar system, and legal procedures. This single artifact proved that ancient Filipinos had writing, laws, and complex governance systems 600 years before the Spanish arrived. But here's where it gets really interesting. Ancient Philippines wasn't a single unified kingdom. It was a collection of independent barangays, think of them as city-states, that formed alliances, traded with each other, and sometimes
I'm curious about the names.
Some barangays were small, just a few dozen families. Others, like those in the Kingdom of Tondo, near modern Manila, had thousands of people. The major powers included Tondo in Luzon, which became a massive
Tondo.
trading hub, the Rajanati of Cebu in the Visayas, which would later meet Ferdinand Magellan, the Kadatuan of Madjaas, also in the Visayas, and in Mindanao, the Sultanate of Sulu and Maguindanao, which converted to Islam in the 14th and 15th centuries and became maritime superpowers. Each of these kingdoms had its own culture, customs, and political systems, but they all shared certain things: incredible seafaring expertise, a strong warrior tradition, trade networks that spanned all of Asia, and a decentralized political structure that made them incredibly difficult to conquer. In fact, this decentralized structure is exactly why the Spanish struggled to control the Philippines for over 300 years. You couldn't just capture a capital city and declare victory. You had to defeat hundreds of independent communities, each with its own leader, its own warriors, and its own fierce desire to resist. And in the Muslim South, the Spanish never fully conquered them. The Sultanate of Sulu remained effectively independent until the Americans arrived in 1898. That's almost 350 years of resistance. Now, let me tell you about the people themselves. Ancient Filipinos weren't just warriors and traders. They were extraordinary artists, master craftsmen, poets, and innovators. They worked gold with techniques so advanced that when Spanish colonizers saw Filipino craftsmanship, they immediately shipped Filipino goldsmiths to Mexico to work in Spanish mines. They wove textiles so fine and beautiful that they became luxury goods in Chinese imperial courts. They built ships called balangays that could cross open oceans without using a single metal nail, held together by wooden pegs and plant fiber. They carved rice terraces into mountainsides that still function perfectly after 2,000 years, engineering marvels that rival anything in the ancient world. They developed herbal medicines that Spanish doctors admitted often worked better than European treatments of the time. And their social structure? Way more progressive than you'd think. Women could own property independently, divorce their husbands if they wanted, and even become leaders and rulers. Some women served as babaylans, spiritual leaders, healers, and priestesses who advised rulers and performed sacred rituals. They were powerful, respected members of society. Here's the crazy part. When the Spanish arrived, they were genuinely shocked and horrified by how much freedom and respect.
I'm gonna say this. Honestly, when Spanish came, they found a society more advanced than Spain itself. So if you think, I mean, there are a lot of people know, Spain came and brings civilization. My ass, no. Philippine was already higher than a lot of countries, not only, I mean, from Europe, from China, and then another fact that amazed me. All these things that Filipinos people and country already had, or, the kingdoms, let's call it like that, the 7 kingdoms. It's so fascinating because nowadays, you can see that in Filipino people, not the country, not the government, not the corruption, but the Filipino people, how resilient they are, how strong they are in difficult situations, how a lot of things were invented in the Philippines, not only before the Spanish came, but from 1900. I have the video on the channel, so you should be proud. I feel proud being a part of this and seeing this. But you as a Filipino, man, beautiful.
Filipino women had. Spanish priests wrote letters back to Spain complaining about it. Ironically, Spanish colonization actually reduced women's rights and status, not expanded them. Let that sink in. The Golden Age. By the 14th and 15th centuries, ancient Philippine civilization was at its peak. Kingdoms were wealthy, trade was booming, the arts flourished. Filipino merchants sailed to China, Java, Borneo, and Malacca. Gold, pearls, and exotic products flowed through Filipino ports. The archipelago was known across Asia as a land of skilled craftsmen and
Yeah, it was
fierce
rich. The
warriors.
Philippines was the most. It
Some
was rich.
historians call this the Golden Age of Philippine civilization, and they're not wrong. This was a time when Filipino kingdoms held their own on the world stage, when Filipino culture was distinct and vibrant, when the islands were connected to the wider world, but still independent and powerful. But then, everything changed. When the Spanish established their first permanent settlement in 1565, under Miguel López de Legazpi, they didn't just conquer territory, they waged total war on Filipino culture itself. They burned pre-colonial texts written in Baybayin, the native script. They persecuted Babaylans as witches and had many of
So Spanish people, in my opinion, they acted like prehistoric, with no brain, and you cannot say we colonized and we brought civilization. No, Jesus Christ.
them killed. They forced conversion to Christianity and outlawed indigenous religious practices, calling them devil worship. They replaced Filipino rulers with Spanish governors. They rewrote history to portray pre-colonial Philippines as primitive,
Primitive was
and
the Spanish.
savage, justifying Spanish colonization as a civilizing mission that saved Filipinos
Bullshit.
from darkness. Within just 2 generations, most Filipinos couldn't read their own ancestral script. Oral traditions were forgotten or lost. Sacred sites were destroyed or converted into churches. Ancient artifacts were melted down or shipped to Spain. And for 333 years, Spanish colonial education taught Filipinos that their history only began when the Spanish arrived, that everything before was darkness, barbarism, and savagery. It was one of history's most successful and devastating cultural erasures, an entire civilization's achievements almost wiped from memory, and that's exactly why we need to talk about it. That's why this series matters. The promise. But here's the good news, and it is good news. Over the past few decades, historians, archaeologists, and anthropologists have been piecing together the true story of ancient Philippines. Archaeological discoveries, careful analysis of Spanish colonial records, Chinese historical texts, and the oral traditions that survived colonization, all of these sources are revealing a picture of a civilization far more advanced, far more complex, and far more impressive than we were ever told. And Filipinos themselves are reclaiming this heritage. Baybayin is
Good.
being taught in schools again. Traditional crafts are experiencing a renaissance. Young people are getting tattoos in ancient styles. The story of ancient Philippines is being told again, and this time it's being told accurately, with respect and pride. And that's what this 30-day series is all about. Over the next month, I'm going to take you through every aspect of ancient Philippine civilization. We'll explore their kingdoms and their wars, their art and their culture, their beliefs and their customs, their triumphs and their tragedies. We'll meet legendary warriors
I
like
have it on the channel
Lapu-Lapu,
with Lapu-Lapu who defeated Magellan, yes.
We'll learn about cunning rulers who played empires against each other. We'll discover brilliant craftspeople whose work still amazes us today. We'll sail on their ships, read their inscriptions, understand their worldview, and see how they built one of Southeast Asia's most fascinating civilizations. This isn't just Filipino history, this is human history. It's a story of innovation, resilience, and cultural achievement. It's a reminder that every corner of the world, every culture, every civilization has contributed to our shared human heritage, even when those contributions have been overlooked, ignored, or deliberately erased. Now, before you go,
The video is down below on in the description, guys. If you want to go and watch it without interruption, I'm gonna do the whole series here on the channel because a lot of things that were erased from history, if we can brought it, you know, to this channel and other channels to the light, to see the light of day now, it worth it because Filipinos people in country deserve that. So this is what I'm trying to do over here with Philippines, with other country as well. But Philippines has a special place in my heart. And if you're not new on the channel, you already saw a lot of videos. I'm gonna leave here at the end the story of Lapu-Lapu, how he defeated Magellan. That's amazingly good. And the Ophir part, if you want to dive into that, that's amazing. I mean, Garden of Eden, the land of gold, Philippines, guys. I mean, it's better than all the movies in the world for me. So I'm so excited. That's why I hope you're going to be here with me on this journey. And like the video, subscribe, of course, if you like what you're seeing. Share it for more people to know. And like I always say, till next time, stay safe.